One thing I find fascinating right now, everyone is so silent on it, is, and it's not to change the subject, but it has to do with freedom of speech in places where they don't have it and they don't take it for granted. Take this great country of China. Here and there, we read about 10 million people who are pretty much in internment, some of them in concentration camps. Many of them have disappeared. There are reports of rapes and torture. It's I don't want to use the word genocide because I don't know exactly what's going on. That's how opaque the situation is. But it's one of the most dramatic human rights violations of our time. And incidentally, our mainstream media has been silent on it. Even more dramatic, the Arab Muslim countries that would fly into a frenzy of rage over cartoons are silent on this. Even more dramatic, organizations like Al-Qaeda that would whip women because they had let a strand of their hair be seen, or even like a country like Iran or Saudi Arabia, where, as you know, if you deviate from Sharia, you face these draconian punishments. All of these countries, organizations, societies, media groups are silent on this issue. This is more than disturbing. What is going on? Sam, there was a time when, especially when Christopher Hitchens was alive, and we would, hang out and have some drinks. And I think there was a time when we thought we were more optimistic. We could win this because it's rational and reasonable. It's the truth. Human beings would be attracted to that. Human beings would be attracted to reason. And now I feel like, it seems as if we're losing to absolute power, such as the sort of absolute power that's exercised by the Chinese Communist Party. We are losing to these, info silos that you were talking about, the woke. What can we do to bring about a renaissance of freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and common sense, critical thinking? How can we get that back?
Well, on the specific problem of what's happening to the Uyghurs in China, I just have to confess, it sounds like yourself, I don't know enough about what's actually happening to say much about it. Largely because, as you say, the press has really not reported well on this. I haven't seen the evidence of what's going on. So whether it's simply millions of people in concentration camps where they're being mistreated to some degree, or whether this is some new Holocaust, I don't actually know what's happening. And I tried to have one China expert on my podcast to talk about this, and that interview fell through for reasons that are interesting and speak to the fear that is provoked by the Chinese Communist Party. It's not to say I could find someone else to speak about this, but the person who I first got recommended to me, actually, it was your lesser half, Neil. I went out to him asking for China experts, and this is one of the first people on his list, and this was a person who did not feel free to speak about this and other issues that I wanted to touch. So I am mystified, though, that the reaction that isn't happening in the Muslim world around this.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what you make of that. I mean, why wouldn't they, see the victimization of to whatever degree of millions of their co-religionists? Why wouldn't they be as outraged as you might expect by that?
I just wanted to point it out. I just wanted to say, I mean, what we've gone through. over cartoons in Denmark and cartoons in France and enormous, diplomatic confrontations. I was a member of parliament in the Netherlands, and I made a passing comment on the Prophet Muhammad taking a bride at the age of 9, and we got a visit from 4 ambassadors. Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Pakistan, Malaysia. And, it seemed to us odd that they had been reading newspapers in Dutch. And then when the Danish cartoons happened, I don't know, you remember vividly how things exploded. And this was about cartoons. And now here we have...
So this asymmetry has always been there to be seen. I mean, it's true that you can get people in the streets, rioting and burning embassies over cartoons, or misnaming a teddy bear or whatever it is.
Exactly, yeah. And what happened to Salman Rushdie, and the way they go on and on about the state of Israel, and now we're witnessing a very serious violation of human rights. And yes, you're right, we don't know enough because our media is not reporting, and I don't know what the reasons are for that. Maybe the Chinese Communist Party is simply not allowing any kind of journalists to come in and see things for themselves. But in this day and age of information, we should be knowing more, we should be seeing more. But when you ask me why even organizations like Al-Qaeda are silent on this, the Muslim Brotherhood, so I'm not even talking about like countries that you could say for geopolitical reasons, maybe Saudi Arabia and Iran, they don't want to provoke China. But what about those non-governmental organizations that were sending young men to die for jihad? There's just really, it's mystifying. You're absolutely right. And I just wanted to put that question out there.